The ground trembles before the sound arrives. You're standing in a shallow pit, surrounded by sandbags and twisted steel. The air smells of cordite and burning dust. Somewhere above, the sky flashes white. A heartbeat later, the blast hits. It feels like the world itself just coughed fire. You don't see the bombers yet, but you feel them, a vibration in your chest. A low metallic hum rising to a roar. Orders crackle through the field phone. Your Creve scrambles. Another shell slams into the breach. Fuse set, barrel elevated. Then, the command. Fire. The gun recoils. Flame spits from the muzzle. Dozens more reply across the horizon. To anyone watching from above, it looks as if the earth itself is firing back. But every flash reveals your position. Every muzzle flame becomes a target. For every bomber shot down, another wave learns exactly where to strike. This was the price of serving Germany's most famous weapon, the FLAK 88. The men who operated it weren't just defenders of the Reich. They were standing in the crosshairs of the entire Allied Air Force. By war's end, 4 out of 5 would never come home. Before it became a symbol of destruction, the FLAK 88 began as a question. In the early 1930s, Germany faced a terrifying problem. How do you fight an enemy that attacks from the stratosphere? The Great War had introduced aircraft to battle, but now bombers were faster, heavier, climbing far beyond the reach of small guns. At Krupp, Germany's industrial giant, engineers were told to do the impossible: create a cannon that could hit a moving target 10 kilometers up. The result was the 8.8 centimeter Flugabwehrkanone, shortened to one sharp word: FLAK. It weighed more than 7 tons, yet a 10-man crew could deploy it in minutes. The cruciform carriage folded open like the arms of a giant steel insect, giving the gun unmatched stability and speed of traverse. Each shell carried a precise time fuse. The gunner would calculate the altitude of the target, set the fuse, and fire. If the math was right, the shell would explode close enough to tear the plane apart with fragments. But the real magic sat beside the gun, the commando Gerät, a mechanical brain. This fire control computer took data from rangefinders and later from radar like the Würzburg. It calculated where the bomber would be 20 seconds in the future, then sent those coordinates to every gun in the battery. A single command, and dozens of 88s fired together. Their shells filled the sky with invisible geometry, and Allied crews flew straight into it. It was mechanical precision, turned into organized chaos. Beautiful, terrifying, effective. And with every success, the enemy took note of exactly where those guns were firing from. Spain, 1936. German crews of the Condor Legion arrived to support Franco's nationalists. It was here that the 88 first revealed its second life. When lowered to a flat angle, it could punch through fortifications and tanks alike. The weapon that hunted aircraft could just as easily hunt armor. By 1939, Germany possessed over 2,600 of these guns. When the war began, the 88 was ready. May 1940, northern France. British tanks counterattack near Arras. German 37mm guns ping harmlessly off their armor. Desperate, officers order the nearby FLAK batteries to lower their barrels. Crews fire directly at the advancing Matildas. At 2 kilometers, the shells punch clean through. Tank after tank burns. The British counterattack collapses. A weapon born to defend the sky had just rewritten the rules of ground warfare. 2 years later, under the blinding sun of North Africa, the 88 met its perfect battlefield. The desert was wide, open, and merciless, perfect for long-range duels. General Erwin Rommel saw its potential instantly. He placed his guns low, half buried in sand. When British armor advanced, the 88s opened fire. One gunner recalled, "We could see them long before they saw us. Our first shot hit. Theirs usually missed." In that dry air, the crack of an 88 shot echoed for miles. To Allied crews, it was a sound they never forgot. A single flat thunderclap that meant death was already on its way. The 88 became both a weapon and a legend. But its legend came with a curse. Wherever it appeared, the enemy focused all their fury on it. Success drove innovation. The FLAK 36 came with modular barrels, easier to replace. The FLAK 37 added electric data transmission, linking entire batteries together. Each version improved speed, accuracy, and range. Soon, engineers mounted the same gun on vehicles. The result, the Tiger I tank, armed with a KWK-36. It could destroy Allied armor long before being seen. Then came the Nashorn and the Elephant, carrying the even longer Park 43. The gun that once pointed at the sky now ruled the ground. For a time, it seemed unstoppable, until its very power made it impossible to hide. By 1941, the 88 stood everywhere, on rooftops, in forests, along rail lines. It was the pride of Germany's defenses and the perfect target for enemy bombers. Each muzzle flash was a flare in the darkness. Every shot revealed a location. Crews learned the grim truth. The moment they fired, they invited the counterstrike. Allied commanders knew the pattern. Before every raid, fighter bombers swept ahead to silence the guns. The hunters of the sky had become its prey, and the numbers told the rest of the story. For every bomber destroyed, thousands of shells were fired, and for every gun still standing, another crew was gone. The 88 had turned its own operators into targets. By the end of 1941, the FLAK 88 had become both triumph and tragedy. It was a masterpiece of engineering that demanded the lives of the men who served it. The Reich would build more, faster, stronger, higher, but it could never build enough men to replace those lost beneath the falling sky. 1942. The war that once felt distant now thunders directly overhead. Allied bombers fill the sky, hundreds of them crossing Europe in endless waves. For the men at the flak guns, each siren means the same thing. Another test of endurance. Another chance not to make it through the night. They had become the wall between Germany and destruction. But walls don't move. And walls eventually crack. By 1942, the Allied bombing campaign is relentless. British bombers come by night. American bombers arrive by day. Factories, oil refineries, and rail yards burn across the Reich. Across Germany, FLAK 88 positions form a steel ring around every major city. Each battery links to radar and to the mechanical brain of the Kommando Gerät. Crews track altitude, speed, and wind. Then, fire. Explosions blossom across the sky like black flowers. From the ground, it looks almost beautiful. From inside a bomber, it's hell. At first, the system works. Early in the war, one bomber might fall for every few thousand shells fired. But the Allies adapt. Each FLAK 88 is more than a gun. It's an entire machine network. At full elevation, it can reach bombers over 8 miles high. A single shell leaves the barrel at 820 meters per second, faster than the sound that follows it. Its effective ceiling reaches nearly 10,000 meters, and a skilled crew can fire 15 rounds per minute. Later models, the FLAK 36 and 37, feature improved barrels and electric data links, sending precise aiming coordinates from the Kommando Gerät, the mechanical analog computer that does the math. That computer reads inputs from Würzburg radar, measuring distance and bearing, predicting exactly where a bomber will be seconds ahead. Every rotation of its dials translates into fuse timing and elevation, sent directly to the guns. It's analog computing turned into artillery, one of the most complex defensive systems ever built before the digital age. But no matter how perfect the numbers were, the men still had to stand under falling bombs to make it work. By 1943, the Allies strike back, not just with bombs, but with science. Electronic warfare begins. They used radar jamming, false echoes on the radar, and chaff, clouds of thin metal strips that blind radar scopes with phantom targets. The flak crews watch their screens fill with ghosts. They fire into empty sky, wasting ammunition, revealing their positions. Even the best guns can't fight arithmetic. By 1943, the Allies win through scale. Hundreds of four-engine bombers fly in tight defensive boxes, each one covering the others with streams of machine gun fire. Even if a few bombers fall, dozens more reach their targets. At the same time, American industry is unstoppable. Every month brings new bombers, new crews, new radar, and heavier armor. Germany, meanwhile, bleeds resources. Each FLAK battery devours ammunition, sometimes 10,000 shells in a single raid, nearly 80 tons of steel for one confirmed kill. Copper, explosives, manpower, all vanish faster than they can be replaced. The 88s remain deadly, but not decisive. Precision can't defeat production. For the crews below, it feels like firing into a storm that never ends. Martha Goebbels, a young rangefinder in Berlin, writes in her diary, "The Americans come in daylight now. We barely finish cleaning the guns from the night raid before the sirens start again. My hands shake, even when they're not on the controls." By now, the Luftwaffe's veterans are gone. Their places filled by boys, some only 15, and women trained for radar and plotting. Helga Zimmermann, who served on a Hamburg tower, recalled, "The boys came to us so young. We older girls, I was 19, had to teach them how to stay calm when the whole building shook. To survive, Germany builds upward. Across Berlin, Hamburg, and Vienna, massive FLAK towers rise from concrete foundations. Each stands dozens of meters high, with walls 3 meters thick. Inside are hospitals, ammo stores, and shelter for thousands of civilians. On top, twin 12.8-centimeter guns, backed by 88s and smaller cannons. Their firepower is staggering, but their fate is fixed. They can't move. They can't hide. And when bombers change course, they can only watch the city burn beyond their range. By late 1943, the numbers speak with brutal clarity. At the start of the war, a few thousand heavy shells could bring down a bomber. Now, it takes more than 16,000. Each one of those shells must be carried, loaded, and fired by exhausted young men. They work around the clock, often under direct attack. Hearing loss is immediate. Nosebleeds, migraines, and concussions are common. Hans Becker, a former Luftwaffe auxiliary, remembered, "You lived in constant panic. Alert, load, aim, fire, duck, reload. The world shrank to your gun, your crew, and the next shell. Sleep comes in fragments. Meals are cold, eaten between alarms. Every flash in the sky means another bomb, maybe the one meant for them." By the end of 1943, the Allies own the skies. Day and night, bombers strike deeper into Germany. The FLAK gunners fire until the barrels glow red, 600 degrees Celsius, and still the raids keep coming. Each city burns a little brighter. Each gun pit loses another crew. The 88s still fire, magnificent in design, tragic in purpose. They can kill, they can terrify, but they can no longer change the outcome. The sky they once defended has turned completely against them.